So, you're smart, but not wealthy. Is there an explanation for this? Yes, it appears that there is a possibility. Let's get this party started. Smart people overlook their weaknesses. Do you ever look at wealthy folks and think that there are too many of them that are, well, boring? Don't you ever listen to wealthy folks and think to yourself, what do they have that I don't? Aside from money, what else? In fact, doesn't it surprise you a little that you know so much, have seen so much, and can accomplish so much despite having so little money? There's a chance, there's a cause for your lack of riches. But to be honest, it's going to be a tough one to take in. Several of you, seeing this, have above average IQs, but only a small number of you earn enough to be considered upper class. What's the reason for this? If you're so brilliant, why aren't you wealthy? Would it be fair to assume that they're gossiping about you? So, which of the above patterns resonates with you the most? Well, strap in. I'm about to dive in even deeper. Smart people are prone to overlooking other skills, such as relationship development, in favor of focusing solely on their intelligence. Smart people sometimes believe that their success is predetermined by their intelligence, and that other abilities are unimportant. An employee who struggles with workplace diplomacy, for example, may dismiss it as a minor annoyance rather than a necessary ability for their position. Similarly, they may believe that being pleasant is important for a secretary, but not for an executive. As a result, they do not devote time or effort to honing these abilities. These perspectives aren't random. Most people are wired to desire focus on their abilities and avoid thinking about their weaknesses. Bright children are frequently told that their intelligence is valuable throughout their childhood. They're told they're intelligent as children, and they learn that success comes more easily to them than to others during their schooling. It's easy to see why they'd focus on their intellect as adults because of this. However, in most industries, raw intelligence isn't enough to succeed, and concentrating solely on your greatest strength rather than tackling your deficiencies is a recipe for failure. The solution is, overcome your limitations by utilizing your strengths. You can learn the skills that don't come easily to you if you're skilled at learning. You don't need a makeover. All you need is a strategy and a sincere desire to improve. Determine 3 specific workplace diplomacy behaviors that will help you succeed in that area. For example, smart people aren't good with teamwork, aka know-it-alls. For highly intelligent people, teamwork can be a source of frustration. When someone grasps concepts fast and has high expectations of himself, it might be challenging to work with those who take longer to process information and grasp concepts. This frustration with teamwork can develop early in a person felt held back in school, by being in class with less intelligent students. You know what this feels like if you routinely did the majority of the work on group projects, or if you were scolded for daydreaming during a class that moved too slowly for you. These emotions might resurface at any time in one's life. When a person develops an emotional raw spot as a child, they frequently have exaggerated internal reactions when the raw area is rubbed as an adult. Smart people also have a hard time delegating because they believe they can accomplish a task better, regardless of whether this is actually true. This is especially true for those who have a strong desire to be perfect. The quick fix is, be patient with yourself and understand where your emotional reactions are coming from, but also learn to truly appreciate what different minds bring to a team. Smart people mostly have low self-esteem. Smart people frequently attribute a large portion of their self-esteem to their intelligence, which can reduce resilience and lead to avoidance. It might be challenging to be in situations that expose weaknesses in your armor, if a large part of your self-esteem is based on your intelligence. Working with people who are more talented or intellectual, receiving constructive criticism, or taking a risk in failing are all examples of this. Any situation that makes you feel stupid is regarded as extremely dangerous. The astute individual may even try to avoid those circumstances, putting them at a disadvantage. The simple answer to this? Take an objective look at the advantages of working with people who are smarter than you in some ways. You're doing something well if you surround yourself with smart individuals. Keep in mind that iron sharpens iron. Develop relationships with people you can rely on to provide you with constructive criticism. It'll become simpler as you become accustomed to accepting critical comments from people who believe in your overall capabilities and abilities. Smart people aren't as patient. Boredom is a common occurrence in intelligent people. Being smart isn't the same as being curious, but if you have both, you might get tired of repeating the same actions. Some sorts of success come from being creative, while others come from mastering a niche and repeating a set of behaviors. If you're intelligent, curious, and enjoy learning, you may discover that once you've figured something out, you rapidly lose interest in it. You might find the execution side of performance boring, and you'd rather be learning new things all the time. Finding a niche and repeating the same method can be more profitable, but it's not always the case, although that might seem too boring or unchallenging to you. An easy fix is, take a 30,000-foot view of when it's worth accepting a little boredom in exchange for quick wins that will improve your overall success. Rather than seeking drastic change, consider when tolerating brief periods of boredom, a few minutes or hours, could be extremely advantageous to your achievement. For example, investing 5 hours per week in a tedious yet rewarding activity. Also, make sure you have ample outlets for your passion for learning in many areas of your life, such as your profession, hobbies, physical health, self-awareness, and so on. Smart people overthink before taking risks. In-depth thinking and reflection are sometimes seen as the solution to all problems by smart individuals. Bright people are accustomed to achieving success through their analytical abilities, yet they may ignore situations where a different approach may be more helpful. For example, when alternative ways would be more fruitful, the smart person might approach every problem by trying to think it to death, over-researching every decision and brooding over every error. The alternative is, recognize when your thoughts have turned into an unhealthy addiction. Consider when other methods of success are more likely than thinking. Experiment with taking breaks to break yourself out of a rut, and allow yourself to learn by doing, rather than by completing lengthy advanced research. Expand your insight-gathering talents, so you aren't the person who perceives every problem as a nail, because their only tool is a hammer. Finally, if you find yourself ruminating, doing negatively toned overthinking, interrupting it by engaging in an absorbing activity for a few minutes, such as a puzzle. This is a surprisingly effective method for getting out of a funk. So which of the patterns so far most closely resemble your personality? You should consider putting them in order of importance. Do you have any coworkers or friends who appear to fall into these traps? Allow any feelings of shame or condemnation to fade away. They aren't required or helpful in breaking these behaviors. If you identify with any of these tendencies, worry not. You're actually not the only one. Otherwise, this video wouldn't exist. Smart people are perfectionists and only want the best. Apart from the above, intelligence boosts your ability to deceive yourself with detailed explanations for why something happened. High IQ people aren't necessarily quick learners because they try to jam the real world into the theories they've been taught, whereas normal people are better at taking things at face value. Here's the thing. We prefer to evaluate others entirely on their behavior, but when it comes to ourselves, we have an internal dialogue that rationalizes our errors and bad decisions. If you're a fund manager who's had a bad year, I might be able to tell you what went wrong right away. If, on the other hand, I'm a fund manager with poor performance, I can create myself a tale to justify my actions and explain the results. As a result, two things happen. We believe we're less faulty than others because we rarely hear other people's internal reasons for their errors, but we're acutely aware of our own. When you're gifted with intelligence, you're also saddled with the capacity to utilize it to manufacture complex and frequently incorrect explanations for why things happened, especially when it comes to why you, Mr. or Miss Smarty Pants, made a mistake. Smart people are too attached to the cause. Intelligence also encourages you to believe that complicated issues necessitate sophisticated answers. Because simple solutions navigate around, rather than trying to steer through portions of an issue that are essentially unknowable. Some of the most complicated challenges demand the simplest solutions. A good example is by Robert Weinberg, a bright cancer researcher at MIT, who perfectly describes why highly clever individuals like himself aren't interested in easy remedies, even if they're effective. In the 2015 documentary Cancer, the Emperor of All Maladies. Persuading someone to stop smoking is a mental challenge. Molecules, genes, and cells have nothing to do with it. As a result, people like myself are largely uninterested in it, even though quitting smoking will have a far greater impact on cancer mortality than anything I could achieve in my lifetime. Furthermore, even when an issue necessitates a complex solution, the ability to convey it in simple terms is critical to gaining people's respect. It makes me wonder, how many academic geniuses have found something incredible, but published it in a paper so dense and convoluted that no one else can understand it? I'm sure it's a lot. So the takeaway is that being super smart also means you understand how much you don't know. This is a double-edged sword, and of course we're focusing on the blunt side. You'll never be able to study or comprehend everything, no matter how hard you try. When the more you know, the less you know, intelligence becomes a cure. Scientists discovered that the less bright you are, the higher your cognitive talents are overestimated, and vice versa. In one experiment, students in the lowest quartile of a test, adapted from the LSAT, overestimated the number of items they got right by roughly 50%. Those in the top quartile, on the other hand, overestimated their number of right answers. This concludes that personality matters a lot when it comes to financial success. This is excellent news for all of you smart people. You can't change your IQ, but you can impact your conscientiousness and curiosity. Encourage yourself to finish what you start, and when you do, recognize and respect all accomplishments. Well, thank you guys so much for watching.